Hello everyone, welcome to the latest episode of Tops and Tails. My name is Huw Ware. This episode is brought to you as ever by Pluto TV, the free streaming service that is the home of the MODUS Super Series. Watch every dart live and exclusive only on Pluto TV. No sign-up required, no fees, just non-stop darting action as well as thousands of movies and shows for you to enjoy. Download the Pluto TV app now and start streaming to your smart television. The link is in the show description. Joining me today is a former major winner of the PDC, the 2010 Players' Championship Finals champion, no less. He's also a established member of the Team Australia squad of the World Cup of Darts, coming runner-up in 2012 in one of the greatest World Cup finals we have ever seen. But more important than any of his achievements in darts, well, more important, we'll talk about that. He has established himself as one of the most colourful personalities that the sport has arguably ever seen. It is none other than the asset himself, Mr. Paul Nicholson. Hi, Paul.
Hi, Huw. Thanks for having me.
That's all right. No, thank you very much for doing this. I'm really interested in getting into things with you because, and I think a lot of fans that are listening to this and watching this online are going to be interested to hear your life story as well. So I already referenced in the introduction, there'll be things that we'll be talking about sort of achievements and personality and all this sort of thing. So we'll get into it. But before we do, I wanted to ask you first of all. So growing up, you were born in Blyth, weren't you, in Northumberland, Newcastle?
I grew up in Blyth, a synonymous town for its mighty Spartans. I actually was born in Newcastle at a hospital which is no longer there. So technically, because I was born on the banks of the River Tyne, I am a Geordie. So let's just get that out there. Because you wouldn't believe how many people ask me if I'm from Sunderland. I'm not from Sunderland. I am a Geordie.
Oh, why did they ask if you're from Sunderland, Paul?
Because they don't know any better, apparently.
Oh, okay. Oh, right. Okay, well, that's interesting. Well, because you have a very strong Geordie accent, you know, let's be fair. And I mean, I think unless we didn't know that you had lived in Australia, which again we'll come to later, then we just say you were growing up and living in Newcastle all your life, you know?
Yeah. Born in Newcastle, raised in a really small sort of off village of Cramlington in Northumberland, which is famous for comedian Ross Noble, and I think one of the gladiators was from there as well.
Oh, right.
But we moved to Blyth when I was 9 years old in 1988, and around about that time, Blyth was a very impoverished town. It was famous for the fact that it had a port, a small football club, but it was tough growing up there because there weren't a great deal of jobs around. My dad struggled to find work, and making ends meet was tough. But in those kind of areas, sports that were cheaper to play really came to the fore. And around about that time, darts was one of the biggest sports in the country. It was going through tough times around 1988 because television deals and the BDO stuff was starting to become a bit fractured. But I was heavily into it, as most people were in that neck of the woods. It was a great time to grow up and establish something that you were good at.
So that's basically how darts came into your life. So we talk about sort of growing up with not much at all. So pubs and that pub culture were very sort of central to the Blyth community, I'm guessing.
Well, weirdly, my parents never really went to the pub when I was alive. My mum was pregnant with me when she won a trophy, so it must be some sort of genetic connection. But my parents didn't really go to the pub raising us kids because they didn't have the money to do that. So and I'm talking about me, my brother, my sisters, we would find ways to entertain ourselves. And I was the person who would look at the television and think, I can do that. So I would go out, find what I needed to find. Even if I didn't have any money, I'd find a way to get something close to that and I'd figure out how to do it. I remember the Commonwealth Games in 1986. Now, Mick Hill was the best javelin thrower that the UK had back then at the Edinburgh Commonwealth Games. I thought, oh, javelin throwing might be fun. So I said to my dad, make me a javelin. So he went into the shed, found a bamboo cane, got some rope and made a javelin and started throwing that around. And I got a bit more athletic. But darts was always the thing that I was always just a little bit better at. And even when I didn't have a board, I would throw something across the garden. I would throw against a piece of wood, sometimes comically, because one time my mum had a very old set of darts and she didn't let me use them. But I thought, I really want to play, so that's the only way I'm going to get some darts. Threw them against these planks of wood, and one of the points snapped. She was mad.
Oh,
She was mad. But I was so desperate to play, I would do anything to play darts. Throw against wood. I would make a dartboard out of cardboard boxes. Wouldn't last very long. But I would do anything just to play. And when I finally got that first dartboard, my word, it didn't last long because I was using it that many times.
I was going to say, do you remember your first 3 darts that you ever threw? Do you remember, or the first time? Because I do, funny enough, I do remember the first time I threw my first 3 darts. But do you? Do you remember?
No, apparently
Not at all.
I was too young.
All right.
I do have a photograph somewhere which will never make it to public viewing because I'm only wearing a jumper. I'm not wearing anything below that.
Oh, okay.
I was only about 2 or 3. And I was in the garden walking around, and apparently I'm trying to mimic Jockey Wilson
Never.
by doing this.
Oh, wow.
So I'm
darts was always kind of there, subconsciously.
Yeah. I mean, if you think about the timeline, I'm 2 or 3 years of age. Jockey Wilson's world champion in 82. So I'm trying to copy what's on the TV. And that's how I harnessed my technique when I was growing up, because I would just copy the people who were there. So I'd copy Jockey. I'd sometimes copy Eric. I'd copy Bob Anderson, I'd copy Richie Burnett and Dennis Priestley, and that's how we used to harness our technique back then, because there's no such thing as coaching or academies or anything like that. It would just be, right, let's see what that is, let's try and do that.
I tell you what, I'm trying to think of something, trying to mimic Jockey Wilson's throw, like of all the players, legends. But imagine with that shoulder and that sort of snow. Did you used to do that? Do you just sort of go further down and then go,
Absolutely.
like that?
You'd copy the Eric Bristow finger and the Keith Della rocking back and forward and that kind of stuff. You'd even try and copy the likes of Dave Whitcomb and John Lowe, because if you didn't copy what they were doing, you in your own mind think, well, they're the best in the world at it. I've got to copy the way that they do it, not the way that I do it naturally.
So I mean, do you think that was probably you wouldn't advise that to youngsters starting out today, would you, Paul, to sort of copy professionals that are copying Luke Littler or Luke Humphreys? Would you encourage players to be themselves and to get their own throw?
Yeah, I would.
Yeah, so that, I mean, obviously I know you're a very young age, but like that's something that you would do differently. You would have encouraged yourself to be yourself more early. Is that fair to say? Yeah.
100%. I mean, when around about 93, 94, when I was in my teen years trying to improve, get my homework done, get on the board afterwards, and my neighbours would hate me because all they'd hear would be,
yeah,
what's that? But it would be me until about 1, 2 in the morning. But I was always trying to copy the people on the TV because we didn't have anybody to tell us what to do. You had to be of a pub lawful age to actually go and get into competition, unless you were in a different part of the UK where they would have youth systems, which were very, 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 very rare. So I would try and be Richie Burnett. I would try and be Andy Fordham, that kind of stuff, and try and figure out in my own mind, how can I throw darts to the best of my ability? It wasn't until I was about maybe 18 where I figured out how to throw as myself through trial and error for God knows how many years. But these days, these kids have got coaches who have qualifications, and they can go to a safe environment to be told how to do fundamental skills within the sport so that they're starting on the right footing.
When did the darts bug hit you? So it's interesting that, you were 2, 3 years old, so throwing darts for the first time, even like as early as then. But was there a moment where you realised you were very good, you realised that this was something you wanted to pursue? When did the bug actually bite, Paul?
If we're talking really early, all my friends at school knew I was good at it. We had 3 guys at my school, in high school, who could play darts. A lad called Paul Critchley, I think he grew up in pubs. A lad called Kevin McGarry, who I still know to this day. His mum played for the county and I played with his mum. But Kevin was a really good player and probably the best around our neck of the woods. But in my own mind, I always thought I was better.
Right.
But I didn't have any chance of proving it because we didn't have anywhere to play, apart from when we went to sixth form at school and they had a dartboard in one of the offshoots of the department. And Paul, Kevin and we would just hammer the board. And at that point, I'm thinking, yeah, I think I'm better than you lads. So I'm going to have to wait until I'm of a legal age to go and play it. But I broke the rules, Huw.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Is this a confession? Is this an exclusive?
This is a story that I have told before, but this is something I wouldn't advocate for anybody else to do.
Right, okay. No,
So
carry on.
I was 16 and I had some really good friends who knew that I was decent. And we came up with this plan one night where I said, why don't you go to the Coronation Club in Blythe and tell them that you're 18?
Oh.
And you might not have to give your right name, because if you give them your right name, you're obviously going to find that you're only 16. So I figured, right, I'm onto a hiding for nothing here. If they find out I'm too young, they'll chuck me off the team. But if they think I'm 18, at least I'll get some exposure. I'll get a chance. And I played with some good players for about 6 or 7 matches until they found out I wasn't old enough to play. So they threw me off the team.
So how did they find out then? If you hadn't given your right name and they foiled you, love?
Small town.
Ah, okay.
Everybody knows everybody
Everyone
eventually.
knows everyone, yeah. So, okay, carry on.
But in the 6 or 7 games that I played, I went to a few different clubs around the area, and I played with some good players. But I figured out, hang on, I can hang with these guys. They're not that much better than me at this stage. But when I got thrown off the team, my parents said to me, look, you shouldn't have done this. But the moment you turn 18, we're going to take you to the club ourselves, and we're going to let you go and play. And that's exactly what we did.
Oh, it's very interesting because, like, I've spoken to Chris Dobie on this podcast before now about darts in the Northeast and the depth of standard, and I've heard you talk about these players as well. Great players who, like, maybe to the wider population of darts fans, we may not have even known who they are, but they are great players. We have exactly the same in Wales. I mean, what was school like for you, Paul? Because, like, it's you strike me a very academic kid. we quite studenty in that respect. You're obviously a very intelligent man. Were you good at school? Did you enjoy school?
Yeah, I think school for me, I was quite studious. I was one of those in-between kids. So I was good at it, but I almost didn't want to be good at it because I wanted to be, one of the cool kids. But I was in the football team. I was the captain of 2 age groups in the football team. So I was really good at that.
Oh, and you had leadership skills, obviously, then
as
well.
Yeah, I was different on the football pitch than when I was in the playground. So when I was pulling on the football shirt from a middle school, I was the one who told you what to do, and I didn't care what you said. I would talk to you, whether you were my bully or not. I would tell you what to do. And for some reason, that came out of me. I don't know why. So at centre-back, I was a really good centre-back. But I wasn't very tall. But I was quick, and I was always knowing where the ball was going to go. But I was good at a lot of sports. I was in the badminton team, the cricket team, decent athletics as well. But darts went to the background when I was at school because there was nothing to do with it. Football took hold, but yeah, injuries set me back in that regard. I would get foot injuries and thigh injuries, and ultimately I'd give up before high school. But studious, yes, I was. I would get good grades. But around about the time when I was 15, 16, I'd get very distracted. Certain things happened in my personal life, which I won't go into, but I went off track. And when I walked away with a lot of B's instead of A's in my exams, a lot of people thought I underachieved. I agree with that. But I still believe that the failures of the later years of school allowed me to try and figure out what I wanted to do long term. I wasn't 100% sure, but ultimately, when I left school, I wasn't able to do the things I wanted to do.
What did you want to do? What was the aspiration?
I wanted to be a policeman.
Okay.
I really wanted to join the police force. I'm someone who, I've been around law-abiding people my whole life. I have been a victim of crime a few times, and I wanted to be the person to put those people away. But I had a really nasty accident when I was 18. I snapped my elbow back the wrong way about 30 degrees in a football accident.
Oh, gosh.
And it still affects me to this day. But I was told from the very outset when I put my application in, you're not going to pass the physical. So don't even try. Because I couldn't bend my arm much. So I thought, oh, great. Well, that's that out. I don't know what I'm going to do from here. I contacted the Royal Air Force because I thought maybe I could get into that. I absolutely blitzed the exams, breezed them, and they said, that's going to be a problem. So this is holding me back from what I wanted to do in my entire life. So at this point, I'm thinking, I don't know what I'm going to do. So I ended up starting a national vocational qualification in retail for working with people. Got into the clothing industry, floated around the clothing industry, the leisure industry where I'd get into fitness, ultimately went into finance. So I was still trying to mope around to figure out what I wanted to do with my life.
Was darts still ticking away in the background just out of interest?
Yeah, when I was 18, I started playing competitively.
Yeah.
And I would play competitively for the next, say, 6 years. I'd get into the county team in Northumberland fairly quickly. I played Super League darts for Blythe. I got touted for one of the best Super League teams in Northumberland with Chris Dobie's dad, Gordon, who I was playing with on Tuesday nights.
Well, do you know, I was going to ask you if you knew Gordon, yeah.
Yeah, no, I played pairs with Gordon. I played team darts with Chris's Uncle Arthur and all of their friends like Ian Arkle and Matty Willis and just great local players. People who didn't necessarily travel, but if you got them in a local tournament, you think, oh, God, not him.
Yes. Well, I mean, just out of interest, what does it feel like sort of seeing Chris, you know, you played pairs with his dad and now to watch his son, you know, sort of become the great player he is today? I mean, that must fill you with pride. Did you know Chris when he was a boy?
No, I didn't.
Oh, you didn't know Chris? You didn't
not
know
at
Chris,
all.
but you knew Gordon?
Gordon used to separate his personal life from his darts.
Oh,
he would show up the
right,
darts and he'd be this happy-go-lucky, brilliant player. But we didn't really talk about private lives back sort of 25 years ago.
Yeah.
When you went to the club or the pub to play darts, you went there to hang out with your pals, to play darts and to compete. If you were to ask me about the personal lives of all of my teammates back then, I knew very, very little. Different now because we have a different narrative about talking about what's going wrong. You know, how can we improve on mental health and things like that? Back then it was very different.
And I mean, so when did the move to Australia come about, Paul? What was that to do with the fact that you were sort of being held back by your arm injury? You know, you were unsure about what you wanted to do. So was that what influenced your decision to go to Australia?
No, I actually moved there by accident. And I know that sounds really weird, but in 2004, I was working for NatWest as a customer advisor in various locations like Whitley Bay, the centre of Newcastle, which was great fun. And I ultimately went to work at the local branch in Blythe where I was living. And at this point in time, I was living on my own. And I was at a bit of a crossroads with my life at the age of 24, thinking, I don't really know what I'm going to do. Am I just going to be one of those guys who works in a local bank branch and just floats around doing stuff? That wasn't good enough for me. So the good thing about working for RBS, the Royal Bank of Scotland Group, they had their failings, don't get me wrong, and in the coming years people would find out about that. But they did have this initiative where you could take tests and pass exams, where you can take your skills and work for the group overseas. This appealed to me incredibly. And I thought at this time, I've been stuck in this country, I haven't even gone abroad. I started to travel, I went to Venice, I went to Bermuda to see a friend. I got the bug. And I thought, if I can do this with work, this might be my calling. Because darts was very much going on the back burner at this point. I'd fallen out of love with it. There was so much politics in the sport. I just couldn't be bothered with it.
Well, when you say politics, to do with who? What, the BDO and the PDC, or local politics?
County politics, BDO politics. I was fascinated by the PDC at the early stage, because obviously there was a lot of Geordies within the PDC system, like Gary Wood and Keith Bisbee and Tommy Cox and Graham Fairhurst. They were all very close by. And I wanted to get involved in that, but I just couldn't because I didn't have the funds.
You want to get involved, what, as an official?
Yeah.
Oh, wow, okay.
I emailed Tommy Cox and said, do you need referees? I ref at county venues. I've done Northumberland Open finals. I once did a final with Gary Anderson, a Northumberland Open final.
No.
And I refed that at a very young age. And I thought, if I'm not going to be a player, maybe I can be a referee. I've not really told that to anyone before, but Tommy Cox said, keep doing what you're doing. Eventually we'll come and see you and we'll see if we can get you on the roster at some point. But by the time I was on his radar, I was ready to move. So I missed my window. I'd already gone to Australia.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, talk about sliding doors.
I know, right?
You could still be refereeing today, love.
Maybe.
You could be like so top, and I wouldn't be here.
You would still.
Well, it's a good job you moved, love. No, I'm kidding.
But Australia was an accident. I mean,
so it was an accident.
Yeah, I was earmarking where to go. A lot of the operations for RBS were on the east coast of America. So I looked at towns like Boston, New York, Pittsburgh was jumping off the map because I'm a Pittsburgh Steelers fan and a Pittsburgh Penguins fan. And I thought, if I can work in the city where my teams are, that could be a dream come true. So I wanted to go and work for Citizens Bank. I was going through all of the tests and things like this, and I was earmarking a move there within the next 18 to 24 months. But around about this time, I went on a night out I didn't even want to go on. I got strong-armed into going to Whitley Bay one Saturday night. And I thought, I don't want to go out. I went out last night. I don't want to go out again. You're coming, whether you like it or not. That night, I met my future wife.
Oh, wow.
And she's from Melbourne. So over the next 6 months, everything changed. So Linda and I met each other. We spent the next 6 months together. We went to Ireland together. And at that point, you think, well, you're going to Australia, and I live in England. What the hell do we do? And we hatched a plan where I would put the American thing to the side. I would look around and say, I haven't really got anything keeping me here. So why don't I come to Australia and give it a try for a year? We ended up getting married. And it wouldn't last long. It was something I'll never regret. I had so many great experiences, but over the next 4 years or so, it was very, very tumultuous.
It was tumultuous, was it? Because I was literally just about to... originally you were going to go for a year, and then you ended up staying for 4. So that would indicate to me that you enjoyed it, but it was tumultuous, was it?
Yeah, it was. I mean, first going there, I'd never been so far from home, obviously. And I actually remember what I was wearing when I got off the plane. It was an England cricket shirt, and I thought, I shouldn't have done that. Shouldn't have done that.
Yeah.
But I didn't wear that for very long.
No, I'm not surprised.
Because over the next 12 months, the Australians welcomed me with open arms and ingratiated me into their culture, and I just lapped it up.
I must say, so that was in 2004, wasn't it? So did you watch the 2005 Ashes, like one of the greatest cricket series of all time? You watched that in Australia, did you?
With my father-in-law.
Oh, well, who was a big... Australian England cricket fan.
Yeah. We had a bet during that game.
Was he an Australian cricket fan?
Yeah,
he was all right.
He moved to Australia in the 60s, like a lot of people did from the UK. He moved very young.
Right.
And we had a bit of a kiddie bet at this time, because I was living under his roof, and I thought, if England win this test series, you're going to have to go to the golf club that I joined with him with the England cricket shirt on. But if the Aussies win, I'll go with an Aussie shirt on. Well, it turns out that he had to wear the shirt because the English won that series. Yeah. But it's funny how things turn, isn't it? Because over the next few years, I counted myself more Australian than English, because I was taking in this culture and being encouraged. In the last few years of playing darts in England, if you get good at something in the northeast of England, the first thing that most people around who are not good at something, they just want to put you down. People at school put me down for playing darts that didn't think it was cool. But I always stuck by it. But in Australia, it was different. They found out I was good, and they said, well, hang on a minute, you're good at this. Why don't you go to this tournament? We'll help you out. Let's take you to this tournament. And all of a sudden, I'm thinking, this is different. And I thrived under this kind of tutelage and this kind of encouragement. And I thought to myself at one point, 2 years into my stay, I don't feel English anymore. I feel like I need to repay these people for what they're giving me, which is a home and things to make me feel good about myself. Because I didn't know it at the time. I know from retrospect that I was very anxious and very down on myself. So by the time it came to around about 2006, I'm thinking, I want to play for this country. I want to play for them forever, and I have sworn by that ever since.
I mean, I've spoken to Damon Hetter on this podcast quite recently about darts in Australia, in the state of darts in Australia. Lots of different organisations. I mean, the DPA was very sort of prominent, especially in your time in Australia. I mean, it still is, but especially in your time. How did you find darts in Australia, Paul? You know, I mean, did you find that you were a success and a revelation down there right away? Or
pretty soon, yeah. I mean, sooner than I thought, anyway, to a certain degree. Imagine what this is like, Huw, because within a week of moving there, my father-in-law, Keith, great guy, he said, look, we know you like darts. Why don't we find you somewhere to play? And he didn't have to do that. He drove me to a local barbershop where this guy knew where everybody played darts. And he had a board in the back, and he said, right, show us what you can do. And he recorded me over 3 legs, and I averaged about 81. And he said, you can play, that's for sure. And he said, you've got to go to a place called Dandenong, which was not far from Noble Park, where this guy was. I said, okay, right, we'll go to Dandenong on Thursday. And Keith said he would take me there. And I was really grateful for this. I walk in, I get there really early. There's someone behind the bar, a guy called Ralph Brown. He was the guy I had to ask for. He was really prominent within the Victorian state darts spectrum. So I said, my name's Paul, such and such has sent me here. Maybe I could play darts here. So I'm chatting with Ralph. Guy comes up to my left. I do this. I went, it was a proper double take, and I'm thinking, am I in too deep here? It was Steve Duke Sr.
Oh, right.
Someone had played Lakesides.
Yeah.
And for Australians to play Lakesides at this time, you had to be good.
Did you grow up watching him on the television?
Yeah.
Right.
I watched everyone.
Yeah.
I knew everyone's name. All the Aussies, all the Kiwis, all the people from around the world. I looked to my left, and there's Steve Duke, and I'm thinking, what am I doing here?
Yeah, right. Did you feel
out
was
of place?
Imposter syndrome?
Absolutely,
Right.
absolutely. But he was so friendly, as was Ralph. They just said, "I tell you what, we've got 2 divisions here. This place had 21 boards. I'd never seen anything like it in my life."
Oh.
So on the right-hand side, you play the 2nd division. On the left-hand side, you play the 1st division. Steve was on the 1st division side. They stuck me in the 2nd division side that night, and they immediately knew, you're too good for that side. But you've got to play that season out.
Right.
So I played that season on that side, and I got the number 1 player, and then they graduated me to the other side, where I'd play with state players like Dean Gibbs, his brother Sean, who would become my pairs partner, tremendous competitor, Tommy Highland. Steve Duke would ultimately be someone I'd play against every Thursday, and my game just went from there to there every Thursday. But it wasn't just that, Huw. It was playing Mondays at the Maroondah Social Darts club as well in London, Croydon, in the east of the city. That was my friendly night at darts, and I'd have my competitive night on a Thursday, and my game really just went from strength to strength because the people were just so incredible.
Is that when you thought, oh, I'm actually really good here, I might like to pursue this a bit more professionally?
Not yet.
Not yet?
No, they thought that it was possible, but the conversations that were being had away from me, they were saying, he's got to try it for state darts. He's probably got to go to tournaments. And it would take a little bit of time for me to hear what they were saying, because I was trying to build a home with my then fiancée. I mean, we got married in 2006, consequently on April Fool's Day, which I always have a bit of a laugh about. But within 6 months of getting married, things would start settling down a bit. We'd find a place to live, and I'm still trying to figure out what I'm going to do work-wise, because there were certain restrictions with my visa as to what I could do at that time. But there's a big tournament in Geelong, which is west of Melbourne, called the Australian Masters. They used to have it at the White Eagle House. And my friend said, look, why don't you go to this? It's not far. It's a world ranking tournament. Even Dennis Priestley won this back in the 90s. And I'm thinking, right, okay, now you've got my attention.
Is this a DPA ranked event?
This was a DFA ranked event.
Okay.
So Darts Federation of Australia. It's now called Darts Australia.
Oh, right.
So this was, if you win this, you could possibly go to the World Masters. You could be known all the way through Australia if you can win this event. So I walk in, and one of the first people I see is Simon Whitlock.
Oh.
And these are the early days of Whitlock. He hasn't even done sort of Lakesides at this point.
Oh, right.
We're talking about, he played at the Circus Tavern in the PDC World Championship, but I knew who he was. And he was largely seen as the best player in the country.
He was he? Even at that time, he
Pretty
was the
much.
number 1 top dog, right?
Yeah, you're talking about Steve Duke Sr. and Tony Fleet, Simon Whitlock, Tony David, but there were so many others. Joey Comito was playing back then.
Oh, wow. Yeah,
and Joey Comito would actually win that tournament. He's only just resurfaced in the last couple of years. But Graham Hunt was there. And that was the I didn't know what to say. He was the first person to win a world event as an Aussie in the 97 World Masters. And you think, he's royalty. He is genuine royalty in Australian darts. And I thought, I've just got to be around these people.
So when you talk about Steve Duke Sr. and Simon Whitlock and Graham Hunt and Tony David, and sort of feeling imposter syndrome, all that, but when it actually came to playing against them, I mean, were you sort of cowed by that, or did you thrive on it? Did you thrive on the idea that you could actually beat these players?
Not
when
at
you
first.
were actually playing against them? No, you were nervous at first.
Yeah, very much so. You know, I'd play against these guys, and I'd played against some great players when I played county darts in the early 2000s. I'd come up against Mick Brooks from Liverpool. That was the most nervous I've ever been in a county shirt. But that was a really good education. I think I needed to learn how to play these world-class players on a regular basis, and that's what playing in that region of Victoria gave me, because there were so many good competitions like the Victoria Open, the Australian Masters, even the competitions that we play on a weekly basis would ready you for this. But it wouldn't be until it would be 2007, it would be a year later, we'd play the same event. And I played Tony David in the singles, and he beat me 4-2. I walked away from that game, and I was there with my friend Paul Bithell, who is a fabulous shirt designer. He's been through the mill the last few years. He's had cancer and everything, but he's still fighting. But I was with him and all my pals from my darts clubs. I walked away from that game a 4-2 loss, and the first thing I said to them was, I should have beaten him. Four words that changed my life.
Oh, yeah.
I should have beaten him. I didn't tell Tony this. I just said that to myself and to my friends and said I should have beaten him.
And that fire was lit from then on, and you were like, okay, I don't care who you are anymore.
Yep.
If I should have beaten you, I want to flip him, beat you in the future.
Yeah.
And that was what lit the fire.
Yeah, that was October 2007. Within 2 months, I'd been convinced by my darts club friends, Tony Birtwistle and Tony Crampton, and a good friend of mine, Kate Gifford, who has played for Australia in the DPA, and she's a great female player down there. They said, why don't you go to Unanderra? It's in New South Wales in December. The Australian singles is on. Why don't you go? And I said, look, I can't go. I've got to work. By this time, my work is thriving. I'm working for a pension company. I've been promoted many times because they realised I was way overqualified for the job that I initially got. So they vaulted me up the ladder quite quickly. And I said, I can't get time off work. Right, let's work it out. Let's fly up there Saturday morning. We'll go from Melbourne to Sydney. We'll get straight to the tournament, straight into the event. You've got to qualify for the Sunday main event. I said, right, okay. You're selling it a little bit. How am I going to get back? I've got to work Monday morning. We can get the first flight out of Sydney back to Melbourne. All right, okay.
What, on the Monday morning?
On the Monday morning.
We'd be knackered, love.
It was properly fast-tracked.
Yeah.
I didn't qualify. The first game I played of that tournament was about 9:30 on Saturday morning. Played Rob Modra.
Oh, yes.
And he took me out. And I knew of Rob, but he beat me.
Oh,
and
bad draw.
Yeah.
First round.
Yeah, really, really bad draw. And I thought, okay, I can take that on the chin. I played in the next qualifying event in the afternoon, and I played much better. But I didn't get through. And I thought, this is okay. This is just a scouting trip to see what Dart Plays Australia events are like. And I really enjoyed it. Met some great people, bumped into Pat O'Reilly, Steve MacArthur, people who played at the Worlds. I was thoroughly enjoying spending time with Barry Genet as well. I know that I'm name dropping here, but these are all people who deserve a mention. They're great, great people.
I'll pick them up for you, Paul, don't worry. Yeah, no, but all these people influenced you.
Yeah, they're really encouraging.
Yes.
And I'm thinking to myself, Saturday night, I'm hanging out with my friends, going for dinner, and what we're going to do in the morning, because the last qualifying event was on the Sunday morning. And then when that was done, you would go straight into the main event, which was knockout. Boy, did I play well that Sunday.
Oh, did you?
I woke up refreshed and beat everyone.
Oh, wow.
Whoever was in my way, they were absolutely fried.
I wonder what you were going to say then.
I bumped into everyone that wasn't qualified. I beat them all. And I was straight into the main event thinking, hang on, the way I'm playing, I can do some damage here. Played Dave Fitzpatrick in the quarters. And Fitzy, great guy. Most Australian guy you'll ever meet. I beat him and he was decent. Really decent player. He looked a bit shocked at how well I played. But by the time I played against Pat O'Reilly, a little bit later on, I went absolutely nuts. I really, really beat him well. And then I was going against Modra in the final. And I thought, you're getting me at the wrong time. I'm flying here. You're not winning this.
Yeah.
I beat him 6-1. It wasn't close. I played brilliant darts. And that was that. Everybody knew my name after that. I was holding this ridiculous sized trophy. And I thought, I don't know where I'm going to put this. But they gave me that trophy to pose with. They gave me another one to take home. Still got it on my mantle at home. It's one of the most important trophies I own. But I know this this is something I've never spoken about before, but I got the flight back to Melbourne. I called my boss and I said, I need the day off because I've just won a tournament in Unanderra and I'm not going to be able to work today. So I actually went to the office and paraded the trophy.
Oh,
This is what I did. Sorry, I'm taking a day off. See you tomorrow.
Open top best parade.
Yeah.
Through telecoms,
Yeah.
through like the marketing, through every.
Yeah, my boss pulled me into the office on the Tuesday morning and said, don't do that again.
Oh.
If you need the Monday off, don't come into the office. Yeah, fair enough. I was just
fair enough.
I was just so proud.
Absolutely.
It was the best thing I'd ever won as an individual.
Well, was it because you had proven something to yourself, Paul? Is that why it was so important to you? Because you had proven to yourself that you could do it?
Yeah, I'm not a kid at this stage. I'm 28 years of age. You know, I'd like to think that I'm coming into the part of my life where I feel like I can do my best at anything. So winning that trophy was a big deal for me, but I had no idea what was about to happen.
Well, I was just about to come to that because it wasn't. So that was 2007.
End of 2007.
So less than 12 months later, the whole darting world knows who you are, Paul. Let alone just Australia.
Yeah.
Because it was 2008 with the Grand Slam, wasn't it? And I wanted to talk to you because I actually remember your debut. So in 2008, November I would have been 15. I just turned 15. I was watching the Grand Slam, big darts nuts as I was at the time, and you come along. And sort of no one knows who you are in terms of the darting, the world of darts, I suppose. And you're wearing your sunglasses and you have your walk on and like bang, straight away, like you're an established personality. Mm-hmm. What was the thought process behind that in the first place? What made you think this is what I'm going to do for my PDC televised debut?
I had a conversation with my friend Tony Crampton about this very thing about a month before I came back to England to play the Slam. I planned to go there in early November and stay until the Worlds was over because I qualified for the World Championship as well.
Yeah.
And I'd go to the German Championship in between. So I'd have 3 big tournaments to play. And after speaking to Tony and my other friend Tony, who was the best man at my wedding, they said, don't be like everyone else. Be yourself, but be a little bit different to them. Because a lot of them just get up there, they play darts, they shake hands, and as great as it is, just be a little bit different. Be true to yourself. And in my county days, I'd walk on with sunglasses, so it wasn't envisaged for just that. I used to do it 6, 7, 8 years earlier.
Oh, that's interesting. Just a county, you
would
walk on with sunglasses.
Yeah, I was very influenced by the Matrix and the cool aspect of the look. So that's where it came from. And I wanted to try and create and cultivate my own stuff. So sunglasses, yes. Very much part of what I wanted to do. But wearing the white polo shirt that I had on was not part of the plan. I had a dart shirt made with airbrushing on the back, but it did include a firearm in the artwork. And Matt Porter said to me, you can't wear that because we don't want to be advocates of people using firearms. And I said, that makes perfect sense to me. What do I do? So I had to go to the PDC stall and just buy a completely mundane polo shirt.
God, now you mentioned it, I remember it now. Yeah, it was just a Monday. So you literally got that for the merchandise stand. Oh, wow,
yeah, it was terrible. Really heavyweight cotton. Wasn't comfortable in it, but I just thought, we'll just make it work.
I mean, opposite right from the word go, the crowd were giving you stick on that debut. Was that something you were expecting?
Not really.
You weren't expecting that at all, no?
No, I found it quite amusing at the start, and I thought, well, I'm not Peter Manley. I didn't expect the boos, but people have said to me in the past, and they are completely right about this, the last thing you want to do is antagonise a Wolverhampton crowd. And especially when you go on the stage and you start doing this. It's like I'm shooting them down. I don't know what I was trying to do. I was maybe influenced too much by, my love for the Matrix movies. I didn't know what I was doing at the time. I was very, very raw. But the one thing I did know what to do with was by throwing the darts.
Oh, absolutely.
Hitting a 180 with my first 3 darts on TV is not many people can say that.
Yeah.
And a 12 darter was my first leg. After that leg, I thought, all right, I think we can do this.
Well, you won that game as well, didn't you?
Yeah, 5-4 against Gary.
Against Gary. Now, that's amazing that you called his final in Northumberland and then beat him at the Grand Slam. That's amazing.
Yeah, well, Gary did an interview in 2009 and he was making his debut at the UK Open. And he eloquently said, I've known Paul for years. I knew him when he was a kid. And we met each other when he was a ringer for the Bedlington Station club as a Super League player, because he was only about an hour's drive from there, from southern Scotland. So I knew Gary when he had the ring earring and the Dream Boy thing, and people used to call him Smiler. Sorry, Gary.
Yes, yeah.
But I loved the way he played. He was dynamite. So to get Gary as my first televised match, I thought, this is just weird.
Yeah.
I mean, the only way it could have been weirder is if I'd got Gary Robson, who was one of my mentors growing up. But getting Anderson, I thought, I feel oddly comfortable with this. I felt a lot less comfortable playing Daryl Fitton and Kevin Painter in the group. But playing Gary, I thought, at least I know him a little bit. I know what he's capable of. So it fired me up a little bit. And I'm not going to advocate this for anybody making their TV debut, but I was up at 6 a.m. in the morning. I wasn't playing until the night time. I got there so early. And I thought, I don't want to be twiddling my thumbs. I got to the venue 8 hours before I played.
Oh, wow.
And I barely stopped.
Barely stopped throwing?
Just kept going. I thought, I'm not going to be nervous. I'm just going to keep playing.
Well, it worked.
It worked that day.
That day, yeah.
But I would tailor it over the course of years.
Okay, yeah, absolutely. I mean, when you walked off from that game, so of course you beat Gary Anderson for 5-4. You've played great. Everyone's going mad. Who is this revelation? And there's also the crowd aspect as well that was going on. Did you have mixed feelings coming off the stage? Did you feel like, ooh, I might have a bit of a problem with the crowd in my next 2 matches? Did you feel like making a rod for your own back? I don't mean it like that, but is that how you felt? I'm not saying that's what you were trying to do, but is that how you felt?
Yeah, it was very much a learning experience, not just what happened on the stage, but what happened off it. Because as soon as you come off the stage at the Civic, you have to go down the spiral staircase back to the practice room, and the first person to greet me there was Tommy Cox. And he said, "Didn't do that again."
Oh, did he?
Yeah, he just said, "Don't be doing that again." And I thought, yes, boss. Because the last thing I want to do is hack you off. I would eventually, plenty of times. But I don't think I was Tommy's cup of tea, let's put it that way, as a player. But he said, just if you're going to have an image, just tone it down a little bit. And
that's because he wants to use a ref, love. Sorry, yeah, that's what was going anyway. Sorry. That's interesting that he said that to you. But so did you feel like, oh, okay, I might have a bit of a problem?
Yeah, I get the feeling that I had to toe the line a bit. I wasn't a rock star going on the stage and having free reign to do whatever he wants. You've got to toe the line. These are the early times where I've been said to the Darts Regulation Authority are watching. I didn't know anything about this at this stage, and I thought, what are the DRA? They're the people who govern what you can and can't do in the sport. I thought, oh, fair enough. And I played against Fitton. That was a great experience because seeing him walk after me, I got the full Civic walk-on madness experience, so that was immense.
Right.
Then I got I Predict a Riot with Painter, who I really struck a chord with in that tournament. I liked Kevin immediately because I knew his partner, Janine. I'd read about her in Darts World magazine when I was a grown-up, and I had a bit of a crush on her, actually.
Oh?
I did tell her that later on, but...
Does Kevin know?
I think I told Kevin, yeah. But, yeah, I got to know them really, really well. They became really good friends of mine. The experience of the Grand Slam was mixed. Great first game. Didn't get through the group. That is a story I'll tell in my book one day because it's way too long for this.
Well, so the World Championship comes along and you make the quarterfinals and you take out Adrian Lewis and you take out Dennis Priestley. Were they some of the best darts you've ever thrown, Paul?
Yeah, unquestionably. The preparation I had for that tournament was very, very close to perfect. I'll give a shout out here to a guy called James Stevenson and an old friend of mine, Robbie Clear. They took me under their wing in Littlehampton in West Sussex. And they said, get yourself into this pub, we'll get you an exhibition with Russell Stewart, which was tremendous fun. But they said, there's a place downstairs where you can go and practice, play pool, take your mind off things, and whatever you need to get ready for this game with Adrian Gray, it's right there for you. I hammered that board. I got fresh air, I got practice, I had friendship at the time. By the time I went to Alexandra Palace, I felt like nothing was going to stand in my way. And I felt for Adrian before we played. I'd met him briefly. And I thought, there's no way you're winning this game. I felt brilliant. I had my wife there. I had minimal support because very few people knew who I was. But my sister turned up. And when she was there, I thought, that's what I needed. Just a little bit of family support. Yeah. I went up there, 3-0, 9 legs to nil. Averaged exactly the same as Phil Taylor did in that round when he beat Steve Grubb 9 legs to nil. And at that point, I'm thinking, we can do something with this now. This is not just a hobby anymore. We can do something.
I mean, so obviously you make the quarterfinals, and so you're there now. You're established in the sport, and you join the tour. So I mean, you would have had to have moved back from Australia to do that. So was that a big, well, obviously a big life decision right there?
Well, I told you earlier that my life was at a bit of crossroads in 2004. And when that was the case, I didn't know where I was going to go. In January of 2009, I was at another crossroads because I had a great job. I'd taken off a lot of time off just to be able to play the tournaments on the DPA circuit. So I'd gone through all of my holidays and about 20 more days of unpaid leave just to do enough to get to the World Championship and the Grand Slam. So at this point, my boss says, you're going to have to take a year off. We can keep your job for 12 months. Go and do the darts thing. If it works out, you don't have to come back. But if it doesn't work out, at least your job's here. And I am immensely grateful to John Astargi for doing that for me.
As a good boss.
He gave me that time. I had great bosses at EWS Super in Melbourne. They were really good with me, and they were really proud of the achievements I was having. But I went back there and they said, look, you're going to have to take a year off. And I said, right, I'll take the year. I'll take 2009 to figure this out. I had to go back to Australia after the Worlds. At this point, my marriage is in tatters. Absolute tatters. I don't need to go into the details of that. But in the March of that year, I'd established a relationship with someone called Will Lazar.
Oh, yes. Yeah, I know him, yeah.
He said he wanted to sponsor me. So at this point, I'm thinking, I've got backing. Unicorn came on board eventually. They didn't even know my name until the end of the Worlds. So I had a very interesting conversation with Edward Lowy. But Will said, come back in March, try and qualify for the UK Open. And I said, that sounds like a plan. I'll come over for a month. I'll play the UK Open qualifiers. And if we can do enough to get back to the UK Open, I'll come back in June, because it was still in the summer at this point. But around that March time, everything changed. So my personal life was in tatters. And I thought, what do? Do I go back to Australia and have no opportunities with darts anymore? Because I'd have to go back and not come back to England. Or do I stay and take a huge risk? My marriage was over. I decided to stay. My mum put me up for a while. And I went to those qualifiers in March. Just about got in the UK Open. Didn't play well at all. In my own book, I was mentally fried, but I did enough to get to Bolton. I didn't play any tournaments when I stayed in the UK between sort of April and May, because mentally I was in a really bad spot. This is coinciding with my 30th birthday as well. And if it wasn't for some of my friends, I probably would have sunk. But by the time the UK Open came around, I had a couple of weeks of practice. I thought, let's go and see what this is all about. Who did I draw first round?
Gary Anderson.
Gary Anderson.
Yeah, it's unbelievable, isn't it? Yeah.
Can't get rid of this guy. What is it about me and Gary Anderson? Yeah. And Gary and I at the UK Open would become a trilogy, which is one of the greatest things in my life. I treasure that trilogy really close.
So can I just detail very quick, what is your relationship like with Gary Anderson,
Great.
Paul? Yeah.
It wasn't for a while.
Right.
We had a very up and down relationship for about 3 years. I beat him at the UK Open in 2009. That was my debut and his debut, and I practiced awful for that game. I didn't think I was going to win a leg, but I got up there and I figured it out. I don't think Gary was too pleased that I beat him, and for the next 12, 14 months, we didn't speak.
Right.
I think he took exception to maybe how I celebrated the game. From his perspective, I totally understand, because it looked very aggressive. But at that time, my head was in the shed. I didn't know what I was doing. I was just so angry at the world. And I looked down the lens of the camera and I just gave it 2 fist pumps like this, saying, okay, world, I won this battle. It was nothing to do with Gary. It was all to do with me versus me and the rest of the world. But subsequently, fast forward in about 12 months, I was in Salzburg and Gary was there and I approached him and I was nervous. I said, are we okay? I know that we haven't spoken in a while. I know things have been a bit fractious. And he just said, yeah, we're fine. He didn't say much. And I thought, okay, I'm going to build on that. I want to regain his respect. And ultimately, it would take a long time to do that, but I would. But those 3 games, Huw,
Oh, yeah.
'09 I win. 10 he wins. I get dragged off the stage by Russ Bray. I'm still up here a little bit fragile. 2011, I beat him in the Saturday afternoon. I think it was 9-8. Those 3 games.
Yes, I think it was.
Unbelievable matches.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's. I was going to ask you about. So this is a slight sort of segue. But that game you mentioned where he beat you, you were dragged off by Russ Bray. Something had been said in the crowd, or whatever it was going on. And you referenced it earlier, actually, how Gary said afterwards that you wanted the bad boy image. Would you agree with that?
Yeah.
Did you did want it? So right from even from the Grand Slam.
Not really. I think when it was somewhat pushed towards me by Sky Sports at my first World Championship, because they actually picked my walk on track for me. The first game I walked out to Down Under, which is Whitlock's walk on.
Yeah.
That was a somewhat ubiquitous Australian track. But after that, they would give me the song The Boys Bad News, so they wanted me to be the bad boy of darts.
Right.
If you look at the way I played during that World Championship, I wasn't a bad boy at all.
No, you weren't, I remember.
I was focused on playing the Worlds. I wanted to play that tournament as best I could. But Sky Sports were desperate for someone to be that image, and they pushed it on me. And I thought, well, do you know what? Why not? Let's give it a crack. But there was one person who realised that I couldn't handle it the way that I was trying to handle it, and that was Phil Taylor. He said publicly, years later, he took on the image of the bad boy darts, but he wasn't mentally strong enough to handle it, and he was so right. I thought I was mentally strong enough to do it, but I really wasn't.
What was your relationship like with Phil Taylor? Because obviously you had a very sort of public war of words, I suppose, if you want to call it that. I think at the match play you were saying things about sort of putting him to bed, and all this sort of thing. I mean, what are your memories of that? What was the motivation behind saying that? Was that simply aiming for the top? Was it something more? Like, what was your relationship with Phil like at that time?
I thought my relationship with Phil was all right, actually. When I beat him in the semis of the Players' Championship finals at the Tavern, I didn't realise at the time, but I was the first person to stop him making a final at the Circus Tavern.
Oh, well, yeah.
I wasn't told that until 10 years later.
I've only just found that out now, yeah. I've only just realised that, yeah.
I'm really proud of that.
Yeah.
But, even when I won that game, he was really glowing about me. He was really encouraging. He said, you played brilliant there. And he was terrific. But he didn't like it when I beat him at the UK Open. But my confidence was off the scale in the middle of 2011. I thought I was the best player in the world. And at that time, I did the famous goodbye thing. And that was overly confident, let's put it that way. It's probably something I shouldn't have done. But do I regret it? No, not at all. You wouldn't believe how much exhibition work I got off the back of that. It was crazy. But I was so confident in that tournament, I thought not even he can stop me. James Wade would, as he usually would.
Yeah.
But in that moment, Phil and I didn't see eye to eye. But it wasn't for that long. A lot of people thought it went on for years. It didn't. It was about 2 months. Because the UK Open was in June. The match play was in July. I'd beaten Colin Osborne, and then Sky Sports wanted to talk more about Phil Taylor than the game I just played. But after the UK Open defeat, Phil went to the press. He spoke with Mike Walters at the Daily Mirror and said he was really disrespectful there in what he did. Now, in retrospect, he's probably right. What I didn't appreciate was the fact that I didn't get a right of reply to that newspaper. I still hold a grudge for that. I don't hold a grudge against Mike or Phil, but if he had a problem with me, he could have talked to me about it. He chose not to. He chose to go to the national press, and I thought, well, two can play that game then. When I got my spot at Sky Sports, I says, look, I didn't like what he did there. He could have spoken to me. So if he does that again, I'm going to put him to bed. And I was soaring with adrenaline after winning my first match play game.
Yeah.
Do I regret saying that? No, I really don't. Because I was high on adrenaline. I was high on life at the time. And I wanted another crack at him.
Well, I mean, does it all come under like the sort of siege mentality? Because you mentioned just now about sort of you against the world. Be that Gary Anson in that particular moment or Phil Taylor at that particular moment. Obviously, you know, this image that all of a sudden has been cultivated either by you or upon you or a mixture of both. And there's, you know, the crowd problems. I mean, do you think the crowd affected your career, Paul?
Yeah, but it's not really their fault. Because if you think about certain players who come along, if they're a full-time darts fan or part-time darts fan, they come and they know who's popular. They know who isn't. Who am I going to boo tonight? Who am I going to cheer for? You know, think about Gezi Price, the first 10 years of his career. Some people would turn up. He might be the most popular player in the world, but they have this automatic reaction of, well, I've got to boo him because he's the boo guy.
Yes, they boo people without even knowing why they boo.
Yeah, I was the boo guy for quite a few years.
Yeah.
Now, the crowd did affect my mental health for a while, but that's on me because I'm the one who exacerbated it. So I could go up there, play placid, but it would still boo me, and then I'd go off and I'd cry my eyes out. You wouldn't believe how many times I've cried after a defeat. It's ridiculous. But I always gave everything I had. I never left anything in the tank. I'm proud of that. But there were times where the crowd really didn't do me any favours. And the one time it was too much was Blackpool 2014 against Wes Newton. I am solely responsible for some of the things I did during that game, some gestures I made, some of the things I said to the crowd, throwing some water on some of the crowd. I got fined for all of it. I should have won the game comfortably. I was 5-0 up. I should have beaten Wes. But towards the end, playing someone on their turf and them reacting the way they were to me, that was a little bit unfair. I thought that crowd was a bit visceral. So if there's one game I'd like to change crowd-wise, it would probably be that one. But can't change it. Can't turn back time. And Wes won the game. And I never played at the match play again. And quite frankly, I didn't want to.
Was that a moment, Paul? Was that a moment where you thought about your future after that game? Right.
Yeah, hugely. Yeah, I went home. I was living in Corby at the time in Northamptonshire. And I actually stayed in Blackpool for an extra 2 days because I was in no fit state to drive. I wasn't intoxicated or anything like that. I was just mentally in a bad place. My friend Amy came to see me all the way from Northumberland because she was worried about me. She comforted me and made sure I was okay before I had to drive home. And by the time I got home, I unpacked. I remember sitting against my sofa and I was really anxious and I thought, this is not normal. This is not how I should be feeling. So I started to get some help with anxiety at that time, but it would take quite a long time for me to figure it out.
I mean, I think anxiety can sort of make us feel, if we try and put ourselves in a different skin, in a different, someone different's mind, a persona, if you will, that actually makes us feel more comfortable. Is that fair with you in darts? Was it more a persona than a person?
Yeah, absolutely.
All the way throughout your career, you think?
You're speaking to Paul Nicholson right now, Huw.
Yes, yes,
the
absolutely.
Asset plays darts. It's like snakebite and Peter Wright, two very different people. It's the way it is. My mentality and the words that used to go through my mind before I played were, the glasses go on, the gloves come off. That's how I played.
Yeah.
And I don't necessarily regret playing darts that way because at times it was a lot of fun. Sometimes it wasn't. But I found a way to take what I believe is a very good local player, turn him into a top 10 player in the world. I had to find a way to do that. And the way to do that was to create the asset. The asset was born in Australia, will always be an Australian dart player. And I have to thank some people for helping me cultivate that image. I was able to use it to the best of its ability. As to whether the asset will be reborn, I've got no idea. But if he's got to rear his ugly head again, it won't be dull.
I mean, you know, you talk about so siege mentality, us against the world, or me against the world rather. Growing up in Northumberland, all the dart players there were not necessarily as encouraging towards you as the Australians were. So you've always kind of been up against opposition in some way, shape or form, whether it's from the darts fraternity in Northumberland when you were growing up, or the crowd. You've always sort of been up against it, haven't you? Which is where that siege mentality has come from.
Yeah.
And the way you've overcome that is to be admired, you know, and the way you handled yourself. So just talk to me a little bit about that. You know, I mean, did it sort of affect you sort of mentally off the? Because it is easy. I think it's easily forgotten, especially in terms of crowds. They're human beings on stage.
Of course.
we're not objects, you know.
It
And
might
if
as
so,
well be holograms.
right, exactly. And it does affect people off the oche, you know. I love to talk to Gavin Price at some point about this similar thing as well.
Yeah.
But I mean, is everything I've just said fair, Paul?
Yeah.
Do you feel as if you've been kind of up against it most of your life?
Probably. I think that's the way that I look at it anyway. Some people will probably look at me like Scotty Scheffler and say, well, hang on a minute, you've had a great career. You've made a few quid. What are you whinging about? Actually, in my era, you had to work very, very hard. And I'm not on Littler money. I'm not on Humphrey's money. You know, the best year of my career in the Pro Tour, without all of the TV stuff, was about £35,000. It's not a lot of money. It really isn't. Especially when you got to pay an agent and you got to, other deductions like tax and things like that. It wasn't a lot of money. You made it work. But my attitude was always me against the world, and assets always work alone. That's a line from the famous Jason Bourne series. Right. So I was always trying to be that player who would turn up, focus on what you're supposed to do and leave. But the person who would suffer would be Paul Nicholson. The asset never really suffered. He would turn up and he'd do his job, but Paul Nicholson suffered. That's the way it was.
Would you, if you had your time again, would you do it differently, Paul?
No, I don't think so. I've spent a great deal of time over the last 6 months thinking about if I could have situations again, which ones would they be? And most of them would be against Wes Newton, funnily enough.
Just that one match,
He's taken more money out of my pocket than anyone.
Oh,
I don't dislike him for it, but boy, I wish I could change some of the games I played against him.
You were kind of neck and neck in the floor rankings at one stage, weren't you? I think that's sort of 2010, 2011 time. You were both really at the top of your game on the floor, weren't you? Well, what are your best memories from the tour, Paul? Let's talk about that. So some of your tour mates, some of your best memories. What some of the stories that you can share with us?
I've got to start with Robert Thornton. Every player who plays PDC darts, or even in BDO times, there's going to be one player that signifies your career. Now, Wes Newton does in a negative sense. Sorry, Wes.
Nothing personal.
In a positive sense, without a doubt, Robert Thornton. I met him in 2008, and I connected with him almost immediately. And I thought, he's the kind of player that's going to make me better. I won my first ranking title against Robert in 2009. I made my first final against Robert when he won his first title. We'd have an absolute drama at the Worlds where we went to the very last leg of 7 sets.
Oh, that's right, you did, yes.
Which was a simply insatiable game for him.
Oh,
he won the last leg.
Yeah.
But I think Robert is the one person who has maybe stuck by my side the most. Along with the likes of Mervyn King as well, who was I sat with him for 10 years. There have been other people, of course, but those two they were the figureheads of all of the good times.
Well, when you beat Mervyn in the final of the Players' Championship finals, I mean, so we talk about sort of bad boy image and keeping focused and all that. Well, what was it like at the Circus Tavern?
Different.
I seem to remember you doing. Were you doing yoga between matches, between the semis and final? Was it yoga you were doing?
Yeah, I'm always doing it. Whether I'm actually in a yoga class or whether I'm just in my room, I'm always stretching something.
Right, yes.
That's my mentality. I like to be mobile.
I mean, because I've got vague memories of like ITV capturing you doing...
Yeah, that was at the Slam in 2008.
Oh, that was at the Slam in 08, okay. Oh, so you were always doing it backstage anyway, were you? That wasn't just for the Circus Tavern?
Players used to look at me thinking, what's he doing there? I mean, what's he twisting on the floor for? And then other players would say, we're just getting up in the morning, pull the blinds up, and there's Nico running again. What's he doing that for? Who's laughing now? I'm still a 32 waist. I'm in very good health at the age of 46, and I want that to continue. I didn't want darts to ruin my health. I didn't want to ruin my physical or mental health. I wanted to enhance my darts by having increased energy, good mobility. I'd have my injury problems, but they were nothing to do with physical activity. It was more to do with tendinitis because of darts and things like that. But
especially in this day and age now of the European Tour World Series, where you're playing 4 matches a day on the Euro Tour if you want to win. There's how many matches on the floor? Is it 7?
Yeah,
you got to win on the floor. A big long matches. We're recording this at the World Match Play, so if you get to the quarter semis, final big long matches in 3 days. So the health and fitness aspect is very important. I mean, do you think that carried you through at the Circus Tavern?
It definitely helped my mental aspect, that's for sure. Cardiovascular activity, whether it be spinning, running when I was able to do that to the best of my ability, all that kind of stuff was really good for my darts engine, which is one of the reasons why I won some titles.
Well, how did that feel, Paul? When that winning double went in, how did you feel?
Well, I won 5 PDC titles. I cried after 4 of them. The only one I didn't cry at was when I won a Players' Championship in Crawley, and I beat Terry Jenkins in the final. And I remember seeing Dave Allen that day, the press manager of the PDC, and I held up that symbol because it was my second one in a row. And I said, "I'm not going to cry today, Dave." And he just started laughing because he knew I was a crier, whether I was failing or succeeding. But winning titles is great. The joy doesn't last long because you're always looking to the next thing. Scotty Scheffler's right about that, by the way. But you just have to soak up the winning feeling. It's nice to be the last person standing.
And I'm going to ask this question with the risk of making myself look a total fool. But if I remember rightly, the joy didn't last too long with the trophy either. Did it, Paul?
Yeah, 2010 Players. I was with my friend Carly, and we had to get a taxi on the Monday morning to King's Cross. And I've just won £60,000. I wouldn't take that home with me.
No.
Because after all deductions, I got less than half. But I had this beautiful crystal trophy with a solid plinth and 2 different boxes. So I'm carrying those as well as my luggage and stuck in traffic, getting to King's Cross. Shit, if I don't get on this train, I'm going to have to pay for a new train fare. Run for the train. The one time I've been to King's Cross and there's a guard there saying, "Show me a ticket before you get in the train." I'm like, what's this for? So I had to put the trophy on the platform, put my suitcase down. Right, there's my ticket. While I'm doing this, this really inconsiderate woman with a pink suitcase runs by me, hits the box, the trophy goes splat.
No.
So you've got crystal all over the platform and I am speechless. I don't know what's happening. The plinth is fine because that's made of walnut and felt and things like that. But the crystal's gone. And then Carly turns to me and says, "We've got to get on this train. I know you want that trophy, but we've got to get on this train." First person I called was Dave Allen. I said, "You're not going to believe what's happened." In the national press, they didn't say Nicholson wins this. Nicholson smashes trophy. That's the press I got.
Oh, no.
So thanks, press. What about the fact that I had just beaten Dennis Priestley and Steve Beaton and Adrian Lewis and Phil Taylor and Mervyn
thanks,
King?
Inconsiderate woman.
Yeah. I never met her.
Yeah, right.
But if I do.
But if you do,
Yeah.
you're coming for her. The trophy was in bits and you were in bits.
Yeah.
Like, oh dear.
That was the end of the joy.
Oh, for God's sake.
I'll forever be known as a Players' Champion, but the thing is my trophy was gone. But fair play to the PDC. What they did was they said, "We will get you a replacement because we know how much this means to you." It took a little bit of time to get it. I didn't care about that. So by the time I was given the replacement, I very securely took it home. And I still have it. So the crystal version I have is the replacement, not the original.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, as we talk about sort of the 2014 match against Wes Newton, and that was like a low point. Did you ever feel like you were the same player after that, Paul?
No, I don't think so.
No, and you said you didn't want to go back to the World Match Play after that because you
at
were on the tour for a few years after that game. But had the fire gone?
No, the fire was still there, but in a different way. I think at that point, I did a few interviews when we started the World Series, and I was becoming a bit more eloquent with my words. I was trying to do, in wrestling terms, a bit of a face turn. I was trying to tell the press, "Can you understand who I am? I can still be the asset, but I can also be a good guy. I can talk. I can very much analyse this game well." Because I've done some commentary up to this point. I've done the 2012 Europeans that Simon won. But I'm trying to show that I'm a decent person. I'm not just this somewhat gung-ho dart player. I want to be the person behind the glasses now. And the press tried to go with that, and I give them full props for trying. But the real raw asset was gone. I needed to try and figure out who I was from this point. I wouldn't qualify for the Worlds for a while. The European tour was very, very difficult to get on all of a sudden after being a seed for the first 2-3 seasons. And tour life was different. I was earning a lot less money. And around 2016, I'm close to losing my card. I'm close to running out of money. I had to sell my house and went into rented accommodation with my girlfriend. And she had to support me for a little bit of time. And there was a time in the summer of 2016 where I swallowed my pride whole, like it was a £5 pill. I said, I'm going to go and get a job then. I haven't had a job since 2008. So 8 years. What do I do? What do I do? I was one of the best 10 players in the world at one point. But this is a massive reality check. So I actually got a job to work at a golf club in the bar. I got the job and I thought, right, okay, we're going to do this. That same week, my saviour called me. Dave Allen again. My saviour said, Rod Harrington doesn't want to do the Austrian darts event next week. And you've had a bit of commentary experience. Would you like to go and work there with Chris Murphy and Dan Dawson? I said, yes, please.
Yes.
Yes, please.
I'll take that. Yes, thank you.
I'd done some commentary gigs, but that was my break. That was my big break. Vienna 2016, that tournament was brilliant. And it coincided, that was the last European Tour event Phil Taylor would ever play.
Oh, right, yes.
And he won it.
He won it, didn't he? Yes, that's right.
He won that one. It was his last one, but it was my first one. And that was where things sort of tipped towards the media side. I'd still play a bit for the next couple of seasons, but the media side would start to take over.
And is it fair to say you felt as if that was going to be the case? You know, you had half the mind on media and punditry. Is that fair?
Yeah, I mean, I got my card back. I actually had my confidence installed again because of the fact that the PDC gave me these media jobs. I went to a few different European events for the rest of the season. I got my confidence back through doing media. And that
you're very good, Paul. You know
that resulted in getting my confidence back on the dartboard for a little bit of time. I'd play on the European Tour in 2017 and 2018. I had some good results. But it would ultimately lead to me having to make a decision as to whether I wanted to go back to Q School or not in 2019, and I chose not to.
Why, Paul? Did you just feel, no, this is a chapter of my life that is done now and I don't want to pursue it anymore? Or was it...
I'd done a lot of work in 2018 and 2019. 2018 was hard. I had a full schedule of darts with the PDC, and I also had the time off was doing media with TalkSport. They'd just come on board. So by the time 2019 came around, I'd done, you wouldn't believe how much work I did over Christmas. I did exhibitions in early December in 2018. Then I did the first round of the Worlds, all my prep for the Worlds to play Kevin Burness. I lost that game, a game I'd rather forget. Coincidentally, if I'd won that game, I would play Gary Anderson.
Oh, there you are, yeah.
So there he is again.
The spectre looms.
When that was done, I went straight into the TalkSport studio to do the rest of that tournament. Then I did Lakeside, my third Lakeside in a row. So I did 2 back-to-back World Championships. And at that point, I thought, I need a break. I need a break. And in that January, I went on holiday. I spoke with somebody in the media and I said, look, I'm going to take a year off darts. I'm going to concentrate on media for this year only, and I'll go back to Q School in 2020. That's exactly what I did. But in 2019, I got a new level of enjoyment and some new skill sets within the media. I educated myself by talking to some great people in the industry, like Ian Danter and Jim Proudfoot, who I absolutely idolise.
Oh, lovely man. Great commentator, lovely man.
Incredible bloke. I was learning from these guys. Now, speaking to John Rowling a lot as well about the skill sets I needed to do this later in my career. But little did I know that the media would be 90% of my stuff moving on. And 2019 was fun. I found my niche.
Well, you probably found a different perspective on darts, as much as a bit life and but darts as well. Much less pressure as well, I imagine. I mean, there obviously is pressure on media because you want to do a good job.
Yeah.
And obviously I'm not saying you couldn't handle the pressure of playing, of course you could, but it's just nice to walk into a darts venue and not have that pressure of having to actually win a game of darts on a stage. Do you know what I mean? Is that fair?
I think that's fair. I have a very stringent attitude towards the way that people who work in my industry now walk into practice rooms and players' championship venues. So take Barnsley, for instance, when we were going there. There's no way around the fact that you have to walk through the practice area and where all the boards are to get to where the media is done. And people used to ask me, I'd bump into Robert and Mervyn and Steve West and Keegan Brown and people like that who I used to socialise with all the time. Said, why don't you come and sit with us? And John Henderson said the same. I said, look, guys, I've got this attitude. You have to earn your way on this floor. I don't deserve to be on this floor right now. I'm up there. This is your domain. Now, if I need to speak to you about something that's really critical right now, I will, and I have done so. But I don't need to speak to you right now. You need to win. This is your time. I haven't got the kudos and the skill set and the right to be on this floor. This is your floor.
And if that's how you felt, as far as you were personally concerned, probably best that you made the decision not to pursue Q School anymore. If it seems to me like you were ready to stop.
Yeah, I went to Q School in 2020 and I got fairly close to getting my card back. I was rooming with Jeff Smith that week and I played some good stuff. But subsequently, because of the pandemic and other opportunities that would come around, I haven't been to Q School since. I have no idea whether I'll go back or not. That's entirely my decision. Because we work in an industry where we're told where to go. We're told how to do it. But we are self-employed. I control my life now. I will do what I want. And nobody's going to tell me otherwise.
Well, where do you find yourself now, Paul? Because you do a lot of work with the MODUS Super Series, don't you?
Yep.
You've relocated down to Portsmouth as well, haven't you? So a word on the MODUS Super Series, Paul, and everything that's and the way that has grown.
We did the testing at the start. Myself and Mark Webster and some other guys, we'd have webcams. We didn't know what we were going to do, but George Noble contacted us and said, look, we're going to try and put something together so people can watch this. I want to be on board. I didn't have anything to do. So let's do this. 9 days of solid testing, day in, day out, to try and figure out how to do it. The early days were tough. I was playing some decent darts during the first year of it. And I won some weeks and had some great games with the likes of Wolfie and Scott Mitchell and David Evans and Richie Edhouse and so many others. But they were tough times just to try and build a foundation. But by the time we went to Southampton, things progressed into a proper production. And then, of course, as it is now on Pluto TV with the location in Portsmouth, it's just gone from strength to strength. And I'm really interested to see where it goes from here.
I mean, it's how many weeks a month do you work down there, Paul? So commentating and things. How many weeks a month do you do? It's
a balancing act because I do work for the PDC as one of their freelance commentators, and I do a lot of their shoulder content as well. I work for TalkSport, so it's a balancing act of working with different contractors throughout the year. The thing about the Super Series, it's great. I am very local now, and I can do a multitude of different jobs. So I can be a commentator, I can be a pundit, I can be a presenter. So I can fill the gaps of what they require. So we do our rotas well in advance. We're talking months and months and months in advance. So I know what I'm doing in December. This is July.
Yes.
So it won't be long before we start planning for January. This is how we make it work. So I work there probably around about 20 weeks a year, which is a lot of work. But the best thing about it, it's the insight into the next level of the game.
Yes.
We can see people coming through before other people do. We can get hints as to what the future has. And I don't need to say any more than Luke Littler because we knew before everybody else did.
Well, I was just going to say Luke Littler's a prime example, really, isn't he? Because he really sort of lit up the Super Series just before going on to the Worlds, didn't he? I remember. Well, thank you very much, Paul, for coming on. It's been an absolute pleasure to have you.
My pleasure.
Obviously, one of the most colourful personalities, one of the most recognisable personalities that the game has certainly seen, certainly in modern times.
Well, not so much now because I'm going grey a little bit.
You can't see it, love. Not in this darkness, you can't see it anyway. No, honestly, no, thank you very much. I suppose just sort of one final question. When you look back on your career, how would you like to be remembered, Paul, in your darts career, in your playing career? Do you see yourself more for your achievements, or do you see yourself more for the personality, a mixture of both? How would you like to be remembered in your playing career?
I think that's a really good question. I think what I'm trying to do with my media skills is I'm trying to gain the trust of the audience so I can provide just that little extra 1% to make an entertaining broadcast, whether it's on radio, streaming or TV. That is what I want to do moving forward, to have the trust of the audience. I don't want to hack anyone off like I did in my playing days, but for my playing days, The thing that I'm really passionate about, and this is not a bee in my bonnet or in any way, because Aussies get a great deal of kudos for what they've done. So Whitlock is the greatest Aussie player of all time. Everybody knows that. Tony David's done great stuff being a world champion 20 odd years ago. Bless Kyle for everything he did when he came over, and Damo is really starting to move forward. Australian darts is at a crossroads right now. They need a figurehead. That is Damon. He is unbelievable. He is exactly what Australian darts needs. But I would like to think that people, I know they're going to have an opinion about this because of the whole England-Australia thing, but please, I'm not begging for it. I just want you to think logically about the fact that I was able to help Australia on their journey to getting darts where it is. I was the first Australian major champion in the PDC. I've won 5 PDC titles. I will forever be an Australian dart player. I'm really, really proud of that. And I would like to think that people would give me credit for helping Australia along the way, because a lot of the analysts who have spoken about Australian darts over the years, I don't seem to get any credit for that, which doesn't sit well with me. Kyle's done his bit. Simon's done his bit. Damo's done his bit. Other people have done their bits, like Corey and Steve MacArthur, and I'm going further back to Barry Genet and Russell Stewart and these guys. They've done superb stuff, but I had a little bit to do about it as well, and I'm really proud of that.
Well, I think you should and will be remembered for that, Paul. I really do. Paul, thank you very, very much for coming on this podcast with me today. I've thoroughly enjoyed it with you. Honestly, it's been marvellous. And really great stuff. Thank you for coming on.
My pleasure.
Yeah, it's been absolutely brilliant, Paul. So thank you very, very much. Cheers now. Hi everyone, it's Huw Ware here. Thank you for downloading and watching the latest episode of the Tops and Tails Darts podcast. Don't forget to subscribe on Spotify, Apple, Amazon, everywhere you get your podcast from. Remember to rate the episode and the podcast, as that really helps it to grow. And remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel. And I want to say thank you very much to our partners at Pluto TV, where you can watch non-stop darting action, as well as thousands of movies for you to enjoy, all for free. The link is in the show description to download the Pluto TV app now and start streaming to your smart television. We'll see you next time for the next episode. Bye-bye.